Welcome back, everybody. In this episode, we get to continue following the two heroes from the previous episode, Hikabi and Tokame, as they're going forward to face off against the demon army. Now, this is kind of mirroring the previous season where that season was wrapping up with Makoto showing up at the battlefield where he had to face off the adventurer and dragon. In this scenario, it's going to be Hikabi and Tokame getting their forces together, bring their two countries together to go forth and take on a demon fort that's currently being held by the demons. Now, the first part of the plan seems to be going pretty well. They're cutting through the forces pretty easily, and everything seems to be going all right until a giant chasm opens up, swallowing the army whole. Now, most people would take a pause, retreat, come up with another battle plan because your whole army has just been cut off or has been cast to the bottom of a pit. But instead, the two heroes decide to charge forward and try to take the fort on by themselves. And when they get to the fort, they encounter a demon giant general who is pretty strong, and they're going to get ready to fight him. They do a couple of swings back and forth, but as they're about to really get into it, he brings out a ring and it causes them to lose all their blessings from the gods. Now, when this happened to Makoto in the previous season, it didn't have any effect on him because pretty much the gods had cursed Makoto instead of blessing him. So instead of being negative on him, it just had a neutral effect. Whereas for these two, it has severely affected the way they fight. Just for Hikabi, she's lost a lot of her magical abilities, a lot of her just gifts from the gods. She's now having to just use her abilities she's built up from her training and her magic that she's built up since she's been there. And the same thing for Tokame. He's lost a lot of his magical abilities, he's lost his magical eye, he's lost his immortality at night, and he just is overall just far weaker than he was before. Seeing that they are at a severe disadvantage, Tokame orders his party to retreat and he gets the heck out of there, pretty much abandoning Hikabi to deal with the demon general on her own. Now, to be fair, he does tell Hikabi that she should get out of there because they are now equipped for this fight. It's been a major loss to them, so she should have followed his lead in getting out of there. But instead, she decided to stay and face off against the demon general because they're not going to retreat and just give up this fort to the demons as they continue to make their advance. So she goes forward with her group to face him on. It's a great fight that's going on with Hikabi, her team, versus the demon giant general. But Navera, their ogre, she realizes that they're not going to win at this rate. So she takes it upon herself to use a cursed spell that gives her extra strength but at the cost of her life in order to make an opening for the rest of the party to escape. The mage, who knows fully well what this is, agrees to go along with the plan because he recognizes that they don't stand a chance at this moment and they have to get Hikabi out of there before the giant is able to slay her. So, willing to sacrifice her life, Navera dodges in to finish off the giant as the rest of her team grabs Hikabi and escapes. Now, Hikabi, she doesn't want to abandon her friend, but she doesn't have much of a choice because everyone's just dragging her along, escaping, as the whole thing just blows up, killing Navera. Now, although this was a great sacrifice, it was kind of in vain because the giant wasn't killed by it. He just went into a ball to protect himself, and now he's coming forth and is fully healed. Although he does remember her name because she did give him a pretty good scare, so you gotta respect her for that at least. But in the end, she just gave her life just for her friends to escape, not removing a giant piece from the demon army. Now, what led up to this failure? Because beforehand, it sounded like they have everything planned out and everything ready to go. So why did this assault just fall to pieces? Well, there's a couple reasons for that. First off, we have to talk about Tokame. Really, it all fell on him, the reason why it failed. Yes, you can bring up the rings later on, but really, it's on him. When these heroes first come into this world, they had the opportunity to shed their own skins and become something new. And Tokame, he kind of did that on the outside. He got a new form, he looked like he was more confident, but in reality, he never progressed more than that. He was just living on easy street. He didn't develop himself internally, and thus, when push came to shove, he crumpled back to his old, weaker self and ran away from the fight. Now, a couple reasons for that. One, when he lost his immortality, that's the biggest one. That just made him run in panic. Because, as I said, he hasn't developed his internal strength. He hasn't developed internally becoming a better man. And when you have the crutch of never dying at night and only fighting at night when you know you're not going to die, well, when you have that gift taken away from you, you're suddenly now more vulnerable when you should have been training with actual monsters during the daylight when there's a potential threat with you dying and becoming more than what you are. And we get a foreshadowing of this, that he's still the little weak boy that gets bullied, that gets looked down upon girls, when he's having his meeting with Hickabee the night before, when the whole group's coming together and sharing information and coming up with their battle plan. He immediately gets super sensitive when Hickabee recognizes him as a model from their old world, and that her best friend really liked him. And he immediately denies it. In fact, he goes cold on her, telling her that she can only call him Mr. Tokame, or using his last name I don't remember off the top of my head. But he immediately becomes cold and very defensive, and just showing us that he's not mentally stable. He has not dealt with his past yet, and he is very gullible. I say gullible because the princess that he serves obviously doesn't really care much for him. She's obviously using him like a tool. So there's a lot of issues going on with Tokame, that he has a major wake-up call coming to him eventually in the future if he doesn't change his path. And by judging how things are going, I don't see that happening. Now, I said we were going to talk about the other aspect, the cursed ring, the ring that removes the goddess's protection. Yes, that plays a major part in why they should have left immediately. Neither Tokame or Hickabee were really ready for this fight without the goddess's blessing. If that was removed from you, you are pretty much good luck, because they're really counting on having the goddess's power on their side to deal with the demon general and all the demons that they have to face. Without that, Tokame made the right call. He made a strategic retreat, and Hickabee should have done the same thing with her party at the exact same time, even though it wouldn't have been the heroic option. So I gotta give Tokame at least some benefit of the doubt there, that he made the smart strategic move to get out of there, but still the more heroic and what a hero is supposed to do is face on this demon general. And there's a chance they could have still won. It's just that the playing fields have become leveled, and it's a far harder fight than what it was going to be before. So I can understand Tokame's hesitation to go into that fight and gain out of there. Versus for Hickabee, we already know that she wants a challenge to her life, that she's so tired of living a life that's boring, that's easy. So you can kind of understand, like, she would just see this as another challenge, another opportunity to take life on by the balls and really become something more, versus her mundane life, which has really been shooken up since the last episode, when she almost got everyone in the party killed by the Black Disaster, Mio. And we don't really know why Mio didn't kill them all. I'm looking forward to hearing that conversation, why she just didn't devour them. But she's already encountered death for her entire party and herself once before, so you would think that she'd been a little bit more cautious with everybody in her party. But she also recognized that they had to defeat the demons here, otherwise their advance would continue into other human lands. So I can understand that aspect as well, as wanting to feel your duty, because Hickabee is definitely more of a hero role than Togame, that I can tell at this point. Now, what implications does this have for the wider story, the world, and everything overall? Well, needs to say, Hickabee and Togame's relationship is probably going to sour severely. Hickabee is probably going to blame Togame for abandoning them, that it's his fault that Nevera is now dead, that if he would have just stayed, the two of them could have fought and won that fight. Maybe, it's hard to tell, but at least there's that possibility. And with him running with his tail between his legs, it really has a negative connotation for the hero. Also, for the wider world, it's now going to be probably looked at that the Empire is a weakling, that they run with their tail between their legs when they find a stronger foe. So that's a lot of bad face on them. Versus for the Kingdom, they stayed and fight to the very, very end, and eventually they also had to retreat, but at least they were there and trying to fight and wasn't the first one to flee. Versus that they both had retreated at the same time, and they had stayed like, yeah, we fought, we tried, but we just didn't have enough strength. We got to regain our strength and get the goddess's blessing back. It probably would look better for the Empire if that was the case. But now, even though that this was a failure of a mission, it's going to look better on Hickabee, because she actually stayed and fought the giant versus fleeing right away. Now, as far as for the broader implications for the war, it's actually not as bad as it sounds, because although he did win the fight by surviving, the Demon General can't really move his troops forward, because right now they are still recovering from the massive blow that they took from Makoto unleashing his massive water cannon at the Adventurer and the Dragon, which also affected the humans. So both sides are severely damaged at this point, but everyone has to take a time to recoup, to prepare for the next attack. And so they got a little bit of time before that has to go on. So I'm looking forward to see, if not by the end of the season, hopefully part way through, we get to see another contest between the heroes and the demon army. Now I'm also curious, does Makoto learn of what happened between the heroes and the demon general? Does he hear that Hickabee, she stayed and fought to the bitter end, but eventually she had to retreat too, but losing a party member? And does he hear that Tokime, he had just abandoned them right away, was a coward, and should have a negative opinion on him? Or does he just hear that the two heroes had to retreat, that Demon General won the fight, but didn't matter because everything was on pause? I'm curious to see what comes out of that story and how he reacts to meeting both the heroes. If he has a positive view of Hikobi and a negative view of Tokime, or if he's just minute and doesn't care about them at all. I'm really looking forward to see how they handle that. But you guys let me know down below. What was your favorite part of the episode? What did you think that Tokime could have done better? What do you think Hikobi could have what do you think Hikobi could have done better? I'm looking forward to hear what you guys got to say. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye.